Welcome to our third and final session of our front-end workshop with React. The team at GDSC Binus International would like to extend our warmest wishes to all that are celebrating Happy Eid al-Fitr. I am Jessica and I'm joined today by Phil, my co-host.
Hello. I just want to say, yeah, thank you. It's been absolutely amazing, this workshop. I think, hopefully everybody else has gotten a lot of insight into it. I know I have, definitely, considering I've been kind of interested in this, web dev kind of stuff. So hopefully everybody else is interested in it. So Jesse, could you kindly kind of basically run down as to what we're gonna basically talk about later?
Of course. In today's session, we're going to be working on the calendar contents and its data, followed by pop-ups, HTTP requests, and finally, getting and pushing data to and from the backend. Just go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I forgot to mention also, we're gonna have attendance form later at the end of this session. So if you want your SAT points, you can go ahead and get your just stay at the end of the session later on and fill in the attendance form. And yeah, we might have a Q&A session, but if Jason would like, and if you want to ask questions, then you can feel free to do so if you'd like, obviously with his permission. So yeah, let's get started. Introducing Jason Christian. You may have the stage.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. So welcome to the last day of the GDSC workshop, the front-end journey. So today's our last day working with React. So by the end of this day, we would have a fully working front-end application. So you guys can use it to make calendar entries and you can share the link to your friends. But of course, that's only available in your computer. We haven't deployed it to the internet yet. So if you want your friends to use it too, to be able to use it, you might want to deploy it to the internet. And if you like it, we can do a tutorial later on how to do it. So without further ado, let me bring his here. And then view posted. Okay, so this is the list of things that we will do today. So let's get started. So before we start, let me recap about our application, what we've done so far. So if we open the index page, we have this. So last week, we can see here, we put up some fonts and then we used external libraries. So the libraries that we installed are DJS and React Router DOM. So DJS helps us with creating the calendar and React Router DOM helps us with the routing. So it's available here. And if I bring up my VS Code, let's zoom in and let's enable screencast. Okay. If we go to package.json, we will see that, yeah, it's here, the things that we installed. So yeah. And then the next thing we did is routing. So we did routing in app.js and index.js. So in index.js, you can see that we have browser router here. So it allows us to do routing. And in app.js, we have the routes. So the home route, it leads us to the home element here. So when you open localhost only, it will open this. And if you open the route /cal/id, the ID is a variable here in the parameter, so it can be anything. It will open the calendar component, which is this. And last week, we also used the calendar and we created this. We auto-generated this. So it's currently in May. So if it changes months, this will also change it to June, July, and whatever. we might test that later. So this is available in the calendar component here. So this is it. Where before it, we can just move it to the outside because it doesn't really belong inside. And yeah, that's what we did last week. So today we will be finishing up. Can you turn down the music a bit? Okay. Okay, I hope it's slow enough. Okay. And okay, oh yeah, we also did the calendar using some logics here. So as you guys can see, this whole code, what this does is this is the logic of creating this calendar. Because normally in calendars, if you open the Windows calendar here and go to April, the dates before the current month are displayed, but they're just grayed out. So we implemented that too. We can show that by going to the previous month. So to do that, I think I can just do this month, and let's go to February. Okay, so yeah, you can see that here 30, 31. So this is grayed out. This means this is brought from January, and this is the days. Yeah. And you might think why I entered 1. Isn't that January? That's because if you hover over this, 0, it starts with 0. So January is 0, February is 1, and December is 11. So yeah, let's delete this. And okay, that's the recap for last week. Also, we didn't do this part. If we show it in the calendar app, there's some from the next month, but we didn't implement it. We're not going to implement it. I think it can be, if you would like to implement it, you can just look at this code and you can figure it on your own. But yeah, we're not going to implement that. Instead, we're going to implement the rest of the stuff here. Okay, so that's the recap. Now let's talk about what we're gonna do today. So this week, me and the core team of GDSC, we made a backend application using Go. So what is a backend application? So backend is basically your data, every calendar data that will be displayed here. So later, in each of the cells, we can see like what is the current event and all. And all the events we store in our backend. So backend consists of the backend application and the database. So we have created that. I'm gonna copy the example link to the chat here. Okay, so if you guys open here, if you guys open that, I'm gonna open it too here. You will see that it's gonna display some data here. So this is actually the data for, if you guys see the link here, this is the data for the staff calendar. So the thought process is, if you open localhost 3000, you go to cal and you go to staff cal, it will display all of this data into the calendar. So this is all the data. To read the data, it goes like this. So let me zoom in. Oh yeah, it's not supposed to display the passcode. This is a mistake on our part. So it's not supposed to display that because the passcode is supposed to be a secret. So to read it, inside the data, you have the year, and then you go to the month. So 5 is May, 6 is June. So, and then you go to the date. So this means that in the year 2022, in May, in the third day, the events are this. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, this is an array. So today there's 5 events that's happening in 3rd May of 2022, and the events are, you can view it here. So there's the name, Halloween. It's not Halloween, but yeah. And there's the time too. The time is 2022 05 blah, blah. So this is the start and the end time, and these are the nodes, and this is the color. So the color represents what cell, the cell color of this, so we can style it too. So that's the backend. And in addition to viewing data, you can add data here too, but I'm gonna touch on that later. So yeah, we'll be working with this backend here now. And when you add data, this is gonna be updated. So yeah. So let's let's start working on everything now. And oh yeah, I forgot to open the Figma. So let's open that. So before we do some coding with data, let's implement these buttons first. So this buttons actually does something. So okay, let's wait for a second. The add button is going to show a pop-up that allows you to add data here to any of the cells and share. It's supposed to be shared. It's wrong. It's supposed to be shared. Let me change it. I think it's here. Okay, yeah. Let's just do this and yeah, okay, share. Cool. So yeah, these are the 2 pop-ups that are supposed to show up. So we have the share, and then the link, and then we have the add pop-up add here. So yeah, let's implement that. So first, let's implement the share first. So the share is simple. This is just the bottom one. Don't look at it. We're gonna implement the top one. So the share pop-up is simple. So all you have is the title, and this is basically the link to the current URL. So it's simple. So let's implement that first. Let me look to my other VS Code. Okay, so to implement pop-up, we're not gonna make the pop-ups by ourselves. So we're gonna install another library that allows us to do pop-ups. So the library that we are going to install is called, I believe, React.js pop-up. Yeah, okay, this is it. So this is the website. So introduction, React.js pop-up is simple pop-up component, blah, 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 blah. It's a small library, only adds 3 kilobytes to your program. So yeah, all you have to do is now just install it. And to install it, it's simple. Don't forget from last week. All you have to do is npm install, and then the name of the library. So React.js pop-up, and that's it. So you hit enter, and it should appear. Since installing now, and if you look at package.json, it will pop up here, and yeah, that's it. That's all you need to do to install that. And so we can just use it straight up. So to use it, first we have to import the pop-up component. So let's go to the top here and import pop-up from React.js pop-up. There we go. And to use it again, let's implement this first. The share button first. So the share button is this one here. So let's cut that for a minute, and let's make our pop-up here. So pop-up, and then the values that we need is model. So model tells the pop-up library that we want a model. So a model is the thing that pops up, to your screen, and it covers everything. So, wait. Okay, it's here. Styling guides. Okay, model. Okay, so a model looks like this. There we go. And you can close it by clicking the darken background. So that's model. And aside from model, we need nested too. We need nested so we can close it by clicking the background. And after that, we type trigger. So trigger, here we put our button. So trigger means this button element is what will trigger our pop-up. So okay, let's close it first. Actually, no, we don't close it like that. We close it like this. Okay. Let me make this smaller so you guys can see better. And let's add a class too. So class name is calendar model. Okay. So let's save. And in the pop-up here, let's just try to type whatever. And if we hit share, oh, okay. Nothing appeared yet. But the button is here, right? Wait, okay. Why doesn't it appear, I wonder? Oh, it appears. Oh, it appears in the middle. Oh, you guys can see this, but we haven't made the class yet, so that's why it's kind of hard to see. So yeah, let's try to make that. So, okay. Let's go to calendar CSS. So let's create the classes. So the classes that we have to create is this first. So we have the class name calendar model, right? But this library adds content to the end here. So we have to select it by typing calendar model content. Calendar model content. And then inside, we can just do background. Color is hashtag 09 3A 3E. Okay, let's save. And then let's hit that one more time and boom, it appears right there. So, okay. And yeah, we kind of need the text to be white too. So let's do color white and okay. We also need the padding. So it looks larger, 24 pixels, 32 pixels. Okay, looks better now. And to top it off, let's do flex. And a flex direction is column. So the things that we spawn will go from the top to the bottom. Okay. Okay, that shouldn't do anything first. Oh yeah, forgot one more thing. Border radius is 8 pixels. So we have something nice. Okay, that should be it, I think. Okay, now if we hit share and then we click off, yeah, it will show a model and then we can click off it. So I wonder why the background doesn't go to black. So let me check. Pop-up overlay. Okay. So okay, I think I have to do this. So to make the background kind of darken, let's go to index CSS and let's add what do you call it? Pop-up overlay. Okay, pop-up overlay. You can feel free to modify libraries to your own liking, because yeah, you can do that. So you guys can see I'm using the inspector to get this element class, and I want to make it darken. So what I can do is I can do background color hashtag 000 000. So 000, this is black. So if I hit save, yeah, it should be black, but we don't want it to be pitch black, right? So what we can do is we can add another 2 numbers at the end. So this 6 numbers represents the color, right? If you add 2 more numbers, those 2 numbers are gonna mean the transparency. So let's try 4. Okay, it looks better. Okay. 3. Okay, that's too light. 5. 7. Okay. So that's how you do pop-ups. So let's X. Oh yeah. We need to add something to our pop-up, right? It's not here. It's here. Okay. So we want to add share and then the link. So let's just go here. Let's change this into an H2 and then share. Hit save and okay, share. And now we need the link. So the link is displayed in this text box. So let's just do this text input, I think. Oh, input box. Okay, input box. Okay, and then close it. And then the value is going to be the current URL. So to do that, what we can do is we can type window dot location dot href. So window dot location dot href is built into the browser, and if you access this, it will print out the link. So let's hit save and bam. Yeah, it's not that big. We can make it bigger. So let's go to calendar CSS and we make the model content with what, like 100 pixels, 500. Okay, that's better. So yeah, we get the link here. So even though this is a input box, if you try to type on it, nothing will happen. That's because we didn't implement on change yet. So on change is needed if you want to change the contents of the input box. So yeah, that's that. So that's that done, the share model. So for the add model, it's gonna be much more complex. If you see it here, yeah, it's gonna be much more complex. We get a text box here, we got a color picker, we got the dates that we have to insert, and yeah, we have the notes too. So instead of making it by ourselves, I have prepared this zip file that you can download and you can just use. You can just copy to your SRC directory. So I'm gonna send it to the chat. Hold on. Okay, where's it? Okay, it's here. I'm gonna send this to the chat. Okay, so we have to copy this into our SRC file. So I already included the add calendar pop-up here. So all you have to do is just copy it to your SRC and we're gonna use it later. So okay, let's do that. I'm gonna open the zip file. So here it is. I'm gonna right click SRC and reveal in File Explorer. I'm gonna go to SRC and you just drag it there. And if it asks you to replace some of the files, you just say yes, replace. Okay. So it's gonna replace things. And yeah, you have all this now. Okay, let's delete use effect first because I forgot to delete that before. So we have all this now. So before we have the main content here. So, oh wait, no, never mind. I mean, we still have the share here. So we can go back to React and, oh, okay. I think we're missing one more file actually. Okay, we're missing that file. So copy that file into SRC and let's just copy it there. Okay, and yeah, the calendar should work again. So if you hit share, yeah, it's still like this. And you don't need the passcode. I'm gonna delete this. I forgot to delete that too. So you have only the share thing. Okay. And you might notice now that the input box is now black. That's because I modified the input box JSX. So now if you notice here, we have dark now and we have mini. So dark and mini adds to the class name. So if dark is defined, we put dark, and if mini is defined, we put mini. So if we look at the CSS, yeah, dark just means the background we change to dark, and color, the text color is to white, and the mini changes the padding into something smaller. So we can view this side by side in the add button here. So again, I already implemented this. So you notice these two things, these two input boxes. So notes is the not mini function. It's not the not mini version, and passcode is the mini version. So that's the only difference. So using React, you can style your elements, your components, just by adding stuff to them. So yeah, you can look at calendar again and calendar.jsx, and here, yeah, input box and then dark. Yeah, so this is dark. So that's it for the pop-ups. So we have this now. We have this new pop-up here. So this is available in the add entry.jsx file. Oh, that's the CSS. Okay, here we go. And okay, I'm gonna explain this code. Yeah. So I'm just gonna copy this component to you guys because we have limited time today and we still want to do the HTTP requests. So okay, this is the HTML element. So it's kind of long, but it defines this. So we have the title here. There's the color picker. So the color picker is already built in to the browser. You can pick any colors that you want. So okay, and then you can change the dates, and then you can change the time. So 1, 2, 12:30, and so on. And the add button is not implemented yet. We're gonna implement it later. And yeah, you might notice that there's passcode here. That's because if we want to add new entries to the calendar, you have to enter the passcode. So yeah, that's it. And okay, I'm gonna show you guys this. So here we need the day.js object. Why? Because if we hit add, you might notice that the starts here, this is set to the current date. So it's it's 7th May 2022, and it knows this by setting the initial state of start date. So you can see you state here. So the date is the current date, and month is the current month added by 1. Because again, the index starts from 0, and we have the current year, and we have the time, which is 00. You can modify this to the current time, but I left it as it is. So yeah, in use state, you can also not only use strings, but you can do objects too, like this. And color is just hashtag your color, and then title is empty first, and then the password is empty too. So yeah, and that's it for the states. So this is exactly the same as the top one. The difference is that the variable, this is start date and this is end date. And you might notice too in the backend here, if we view one of them, yeah, this corresponds to every data that we need here. So we need the date. So the date is this 2022 530. 0 is the array index, and then we have the title. The title is going to be the title here, and then yeah, we have the time too, and then we have the notes. This is the time range, so this is start date and this is end date. The notes, oh, I think we forgot the node. Oh, the notes is here, but we haven't made the state, I think. Where's the node? Oh yeah, we haven't done anything. So okay, so you can create a new node here. So node, comma, set node, and then equals use state, quotation marks, and then at the input box below in line 80, below h4 nodes, you can do value equals nodes on change equals set node. Oh, it's node only. Okay. And I think the input box should work. Okay, cool. It works. So we're gonna implement this add button later. That's because we are only making the pop-ups for now. Okay, we can go back to this page later. We're gonna implement it later. So basically the contents of the zip file, it contains all this. So we have the add entry calendar page, and we have this new component called time input. So time input is this text box. So this is a special text box. So this functions for the time. So the difference between the normal text box and this text box, the time input text box, is that if you type something, it will replace the numbers, and it will not append the characters like this. Instead, it will append the numbers, so you can modify it. So you can go 09, 08, 59, 35, and so on. So that's it. If you like to know how this works, feel free to read it later, but this is the logic that I've made. And yeah, those are the files that we added. Oh yeah, we have the constants.js too. Okay, so the constants.js contains our backend URL. So this is the backend URL that I shared to you guys in the chat. So I'm gonna share it again here. So we need the backend URL if we want to do HTTP requests to anything, because all the HTTP requests that we're gonna make it to our backend server, right? So we just save the link here so we can edit it later if we want for development purposes or something. Okay. So that's the files that we're adding, that we've added. So now let's go to calendar JSX. Let's close right here. And let's take a look at what we've added so far. So we added the pop-up for the share button, and we also have the pop-up for add entry. So the add entry component is the previous one here. And at the top, we have this. So this is use state, and instead use state, we are storing an object. So this object is pretty unique. So we have state equals to idle. So what this does is this is just a helper variable, so we can keep track of the HTTP requests. I will touch on this later. And calendar, this is still empty, but our goal here is we want to get the calendar data from this URL. So this is the calendar data, and we want to place it over here. We want to place it in the calendar variable here. And so our goal is, let me open my notepad. So our goal is we go to this URL, right? And so we get the name of the calendar. So the name of the calendar is here, staffcal. So we can get the name of the calendar by using this function. So const id use params. So where do we get id? Id is we get from this. So we go to app.js, and if we see this route, so it's /cal /:id. So remember when I say that id can be anything? Yeah, it can be anything. So we can get this anything, this id in the calendar JSX here. So we stored it an id. So if you guys want to see it, you can console log id and see what will appear in the console. So if I go to console, go past all the errors, yeah, you can see staffcal here. And let's go back here. And if I change the URL, so let's try staffcal blah, 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 blah. The console will show staffcal blah, 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 2. So yeah, it's variable. And after we get the name of the calendar, we do an HTTP request to our backend. And we do the HTTP request using this URL, right? And the format is the URL, and then again, /cal, and then / the name of the calendar. So what you're getting in the URL here, in the data here, it will differ depending on what you type on the calendar name here. So if I type like blah blah, it will just throw an error. Why? Because this calendar doesn't exist in the database, but I know that staffcal exists. So yeah, this is the calendar that already exists. So we're just gonna take this as an example. So yeah, we do an HTTP request to our backend. And then after we get the data from the HTTP request, if there is data, display it to the calendar. If there isn't, show an error. So that's the steps that we are going to take. So first, we get the name of the calendar already. Second, we do an HTTP request. And third, we get the data. If there's data, we show it on the calendar component JSX here. So we include something here, or if there isn't, we just show an error. The error we can show in the form of model, or we can show it in the form of alert or anything. Yeah. And apa? You might notice here that I'm also passing through the calendar.calendar data here, so we can consume it in this. Oh yeah, you need to add this to calendar, so we can consume it here. So just passing through this variable here. Okay. So let's start to do the HTTP requests. So before that, let's go to the browser inspector and let's go to network. So if I refresh this page, you will see that this network will populate with data. And the first one is you get the HTTP localhost 3000 calstafcal HTML file. If you see the response, yeah, it will show HTML here. And then after getting the HTML, it has to import some JS files and then CSS files, right? And so that's the things that is here. And then you have the image too. You have the logo, and then you have the favicon. And so if you make HTTP requests, you can view it here. So that's just a handy way to debug stuff. So let's do the HTTP request now. So what we want to do is we use a function in React called useEffect. So here. So if you want to do an HTTP request, you cannot just do it here. You have to do it in the useEffect hook. So what is the useEffect hook? So useEffect hook, what this does is when you render this component, everything that is inside this useEffect hook will only run once. So even if you render the component multiple times, the function that you place in useEffect hook will only run once. Why? Because we only need to take the data once, right? We don't need to do it multiple times. So that's why we place it in useEffect hook. And even though we want to get the data multiple times, we still have to insert it in the useEffect hook. That's because the calendar component will render a lot of time. If React deems it necessary, it will re-render the calendar component so that it may refresh the data inside here. So it can just render whenever it wants. So let's say you place the HTTP request function here. Yeah, it will get called every time your component re-renders, and your component can re-render several times in a span of time. So that's why you place it in useEffect. So it only runs once. So the first parameter of useEffect is a function. So you place a function here. And then the second parameter, let's put an empty array. So the second parameter here is called the dependency list. So you can place a variable here. So for example, calendar. So if you place calendar here, the function inside useEffect here. So let's try console log bruh. This function will run every time the calendar variable changes, or every time the component first renders. So that's what the dependency lists are for. So when a variable here changes, this will get rerun. So if we leave this empty, the function inside useEffect will only run once, and then that's it. So we only need it once. So yeah, that's all we need. So we can do the HTTP requests here. So to do the request, we are going to use a function called fetch. So this is a built-in function into the browser. So fetch allows us to do HTTP requests to the backend or wherever you want. So this is the example usage of fetch. So you just type fetch and then the URL that you want. So that URL is this blah 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 dot s/cal/staffcal. And then we convert the response into JSON so we can use it. And then we use the JSON for anything. So that's what we're gonna do. So inside use effect, let's type fetch. And then this is the URL. So the URL we can get from backend URL. It's already being imported at the top. And then we're gonna do /cal/+ID. So remember, ID is the name here, so staffcal. So this is going to result in exactly like this. And then it's gonna fetch the data. And then after that, we are going to convert the data, so response, into JSON. Okay, that's it. And after that, we are going to put the data inside the calendar state. So here we just do set calendar and then parentheses, and then we create a new object here. So the new object will replace this state. So the state I'm going to change into loaded because it's already loaded, and comma calendar equals to data, the data that we have gotten here. And in the fetch function, I'm going to do catch. So catch is when this HTTP request fails. So in the catch function, we can do reason and then open, and then we can just alert the user that the HTTP request failed, and then we can put the error here. Okay, that's it. And you might notice that the dependency array has a warning, so missing dependency. So VS Code is smart enough to know that we should probably insert ID here. Why? Because if the ID changes, it only makes sense we do the HTTP request again, right? So if we change the calendar into JSON cal, for example, yeah, this will rerun and fetch the JSON cal from the backend. So yeah, that's it for fetching the calendar. So let's try console logging it. Console log calendar. Okay, let's save. Then let's hit refresh. Okay. You guys see here that in the network tab, it creates a new HTTP request to the domain sharecal backend TP something. So that's the backend that we have. So we know the HTTP request is successful. And in the response, we can see the data here. And because we're console logging the data too, we can go to console. And yeah, you can see here, we can see several prints here. So these are the prints. So you guys can see that this is duplicated. That's because, like I said before, calendar can be re-rendered whenever React's like it. And so React decided to render it twice, but we only need to call the isEffect hook once, right? So that's what it did. It only calls it once. So in the beginning, it just printed our object, which is still empty. So this is the initial state here. So the state is idle and the object is empty. And after that, it prints it again. And now it's loaded because we have data now. And these are the data. And we can use this data to show it on the calendar. And so it's loaded. Okay. Cool. So because we have loaded it, yeah, let's show it on the calendar now. So hit X there, hit X, and showing data on the calendar. And before that, I need to make some changes. Let's not do calendar.calendar. Let's do calendar. Okay. That's it. And yeah, let's go to calendar component now. Because we're passing the data to here, we can access it from here. And we can display the calendar events here. So if you guys remember from last week, this part of the code here, this generates the dates from before the month. And this part display the current month. So we're gonna add it here. We're gonna add the data here. And before we add the data, we need to check whether the data is here or not. So we can check whether the data is here or not because HTTP request takes time, right? It's not instant. So we need to check whether the data is here or not. And to check that, we can check whether the calendar object here is empty or not. Or we can do it the smarter way, which is using this state idle error loaded. So the rationale here, the logic is we set the state into something initially, so idle, and then we change the state once the data is loaded. So here we can see in the fetch here, if we have loaded the data successfully, we set the calendar, we change the state into loaded, and we put the data inside of the calendar. But if it's not successful, let's just set calendar, and then state is error, comma, calendar empty. Okay, that's it like that. So we use state here, the string, so that it's smarter. So we know when data is here or when data is not here. So let's go to calendar component. And so we can do checking here. So calendar.state. So if calendar.state equals loaded, then and only then we create our div here. So okay. So what does this double ampersand mean? So this double ampersand means that if this statement is true, then it will return the div that I'm about to create here. And if this is not true, then my div isn't going to get spawned. So yeah, that's it. So if I hit save and we go back to here, now this is going to show up. So let me refresh the page. Oh, you guys see that? So when the calendar is empty, there's no desa-desa. Yet the HTTP request hasn't returned a result yet. And when it appears, yeah, it has returned the results. So this is where I'm gonna put our calendar thingies. So okay, let me cheat out of my sample code for a bit. Calendar component. Okay, here we go. Okay, so I'm going to get, so we're iterating from date 1 to date 31, right? So when we're iterating through the dates, we can check whether in the current date we have an event or not. So we can check by going through 2022 and then month 5 and then day 3, day 4, and we can see whether there's an event or not. So we're gonna access the data like that. So to access the data, let me delete that div first, and then let's do calendar. We're gonna access the data first. Okay, calendar dot calendar, and then dot. Okay, now we're in this object. Now we can just do dot data, and then we're gonna access the year now. So to access the year, I'm going to do this square brackets, and I'm going to do date dot year. So I created a DJS object here, so we can access the current dates. And so date year. Oh no, it's here. Okay. So okay, date year. And then before we continue to the month, if we're in the year 2023, for example, and so the yes, when we call date.year, it's gonna return 2023. And because 2023 doesn't appear in our data from the backend, calling this will result in an error from JavaScript. So to prevent this error, I'm going to use this thing from JavaScript. So what is this, you might ask? So this is called optional, JavaScript optional. So this is kind of a new feature. So what it does is, if date year, so 2023, if this is not in data, it will just return undefined instead of returning an error. So it's better rather than our program crashing. And let's say we're in 2022, but we are in the month of December. December is not here again, so it's gonna throw an error again. So we're just gonna do chaining. So date.month plus 1 again, because the index starts at 0. And then we're gonna chain again, and then we're gonna do the day. So we're not gonna do this, but instead we're gonna take from this for loop. So I'm going to fill this as I. Why? Because this for loop creates all of the calendar cells, right, from 1 to 31. So that's how you access the date. So it starts from 1 to 31. Oh, it starts as 0. So let's add that by 1. And then after that, I'm gonna do question mark again, because the date might not exist And then I'm going to do map. So why map? Because if you see the data, after the date, we have an array. So we have to iterate through this array and display it one by one. So map. And then here, I'm going to do parentheses. And then I'm gonna extract the name and the color. So I'm going to do it like this, name, comma, color. And then arrow function, because we're creating a function. And then instead of curly braces, I'm gonna do parentheses. And inside the parentheses, now I'm going to create the div element. And instead of the div element, let's insert our name. And okay, let's save first to confirm our code works or not. Let's hit save and bam. So now we have the entries inside of the calendars. But as you can see, in what is this? In the third date, we have 5 events. And because we have 5 events, it kind of spills. We're gonna fix that later. And yeah, but everything appear here, the events. So let's do the colors now. So to do the colors, let's do style equals double curly braces. Why double curly braces? Because the first curly braces indicates that it's gonna be a JavaScript code, and the second curly braces indicates that this is a JavaScript object. So inside of the object, we can type background color. So the autocomplete is gonna help us equals color, because the color is already in the right format. So it's already in like hashtag format. This is valid. This is completely valid. And we can also do class name and even cell. Okay. Now if we hit save, bam. Now some of them will change color. You might wonder why Halloween is not changing color. That's because the background color is black. That's why it doesn't show anything. There we go, black. So yeah, but the others changes color. So yeah, that's it. And let's go to CSS. Let's do dot main calendar dot dates and then dot event cell. So inside event cell, let's just do border radius 4 pixels. 8. Is that too much? No, okay. And then I'm going to make the font smaller. So font size 0.75 rem. Okay. I guess that's fine now. And oh yeah, I need to fix this spill. So to fix that spill, so we are in a div, right? So we go to the parent div, which is cell dates. So cell dates is this. And we can just do overflow hidden. So when a thing spills from a div, we call this an overflow. So to handle overflow, you can just make it hidden. So let's zoom it here. And if I hit save, it will just hide it. Or we can do auto. So auto is we create a scroll bar here. So you know what? This looks not bad actually. Oh no. I pressed a button and now everything is gone. Okay. I mean, the scroll bar is okay, I guess. Yeah, okay lah. I think this is cool too, rather than just hiding everything. Okay. So that's it. That's how you do data fetching. So let's take a break for like 3 minutes. So if you guys have any questions, you can leave it in the chat. While you guys are leaving question, I'm gonna go to the toilet there for a bit. Okay. Just gonna open the code here. And okay, be right back. Okay, so we have a question. Is it possible to be able to scroll but the scroll bar invisible? Or to customize the scroll bar? Okay, that's a good question. I don't think you can make the scroll bar invisible. Oh, you know what? I think you can do it yeah, I think you can do it. But unfortunately in Firefox, you are not able to do it. So Firefox custom scroll bar. I actually handled this error in my internship because we have to style a scroll bar, right? But I'm the only one who used Firefox in my team. So the scroll bar in my screen, doesn't actually change, but the scroll bar in my team's computer changed. So yeah, that's a problem that we have to solve. So yeah, this is how you do it in other browsers. So you style it using the : WebKit scroll bar. And if I visit caniuse.com, if I type WebKit scroll bar, okay, here we go. So this is how you modify your scroll bar. And unfortunately, if you look at it, if you zoom in, Internet Explorer not supported, Firefox not supported, but pretty much the rest of the browsers support it. So yeah, unfortunately, you cannot customize the scroll bar much in Firefox, but you can still customize it, just not by much. And I think you can make it invisible, yeah, in other browsers. So yeah. How will we delete events? We can add, but how delete? Okay, unfortunately, we're not gonna implement deletion here, but if you guys would like it, yeah, you can add it on your own. We are gonna, maybe we can like create a route specifically in the backend for deleting events, but yeah, it's not gonna be touched on this lesson here. So the next one, we're gonna be showing how to push an event to post an event to the backend. Okay, I hope everyone's ready. So we have displayed our events. So now let's implement the add event. Okay. So before that, I'm gonna commit git that git commit edit for first HTTP request for calendar. Pop up library edit and use edit add entry and share model, and I think that's it. Okay, I forgot to touch one more thing. Okay, so currently we are in the staff calendar, right? But what if we go to another calendar, a random calendar name? Okay, thank you, Z, for the GitHub repo. What if we go to another calendar? Okay, it's empty. But if I'm the developer of this program, I'd say this is an unintended behavior right here. Because if we go to a calendar that doesn't exist, isn't it supposed to display some kind of an error? This implies that the calendar exists. It's just that the user hasn't added anything yet. So to do that, to handle this, we can go to the backend and we can enter a random string to the calendar name. And so if the calendar doesn't exist, it will return a JSON called false. And yeah, it's gonna return false, but let me check. Oh yeah, you can see the status here, the HTTP status. It's 404. So let me duplicate this and open the same thing, but we go to staffcal. It's gonna return 200, but it's gonna return 404 if it doesn't exist. So we can check it whether it exists by two methods. So the first method is we can check whether the JSON success is false, or we can check the status code. And I think I'm going to check the status code there since it is easier. So let's go to calendar, and I'm going to do the checking here in the set calendar loaded. Okay, so I think we need to modify some stuff here. Okay, this is how you modify it. So let's delete this part. Okay. So I'm just going to do straight with response. And I'm going to check the response. So you can check whether the response is 404 or not using the OK attribute. So OK will be true if it returns the status code like 200 or successful. It will return false if it's 404, 500 or something. So status code, if it begins with 4 or 5, it's an error. But if it returns with beginning with 2 or 3, it's a success. So you guys can take a look. add more of this in HTTP status codes and Wikipedia. So yeah, okay. So 2xx successful, 3xx redirection, 4xx client error, 5xx server error. So that's it. So yeah, we can just check if response okay. We can set calendar to this. Else, we can just copy this. And that should be it. And yeah, we need to handle this. So we're just gonna do response.json. But JSON, it doesn't return the JSON immediately. It will return a promise. So actually this is wrong. So the right way to do this is I have to do this, okay? Response JSON, then, and then data. And then now I can like do this here. Okay. Okay, that's how you do it. That's because yeah, JSON, it doesn't return the JSON immediately. It returns a promise. And then if you use then, it will return the JSON here. So yeah, let's hit save. And oh yeah, it will return an error, yeah. So let's go to calendar. Yeah, let's just do it here. Calendar.gsx. And let's, oh yeah, we have imported pop-up. You know what, let's just do alert. So we can do an if here. Oh no, you know what, we can just do it here. Let's do alert. And we can do calendar does not exist. And then save. So if we go back to our React app and we refresh, it will show calendar doesn't exist if it doesn't exist. So we can go back to StuffCal. And StuffCal, yeah, it will just do this instead. So that's how you handle errors if whether the thing exists or not. So that's it. And now let's go to this. So git commit edit case when calendar does not exist. Okay, cool. Let's implement this now. This is in the atentry.jsx file. So okay. Okay, I think I need to explain about this a bit. So yeah, it has a lot of states because yeah, it has a lot of things that we can change. So it has color, title, pass, note, and then this. So it's a dictionary, as I said previously. We have the date, month, year, time. So we set the date, month, time, year initially to these values. So the date, month, year is the current day, the current date. And this first input box is for the title. And then this second input, this input is for the color picker here. So this is already built into HTML. And then these input boxes, these are for the dates here. And okay, this is the onChange function is kind of weird. That's because this is for the date, right? So this is this input box right here. So when you want to change the date, you only have to change this part, right? These three parts you cannot change. So to change only this, you need this code. So to explain, so it will set start date, it will set the state, and then this is what it's gonna be set to. So this, to explain this, so this is triple dot and then start date. So what this will do is it will duplicate the start date object. So it will duplicate it here. And then you change the date into something new. So again, you duplicate the start date object and then you set it to something new. So why do you have to duplicate it? You have to duplicate it because React variables states have to be immutable. So immutable means that you cannot change the variable straight up. Like this is why we use states. That's because we cannot change it. We cannot do it like this state as start date. Start date dot start date dot date equals val. We cannot do it like this because this is called mutating the variable. We are changing the variable, right? So this is illegal in React. But to change a variable, you have to do this. You have to duplicate the original variable, and then after duplicating it, then you can change it into something. So that's why this is kind of long, because we have to duplicate the variable and we change it, the new variable. So yeah, the rest of the things is basically that, but for different values. So this is for date, this is for month, this is for year, this is for time, and so on. And yeah. Okay. We don't need this actually. Let's delete that and delete this. Okay, cool. So we can change the values here, right? Now all we have to do is we need to be able to make another HTTP request when we hit this button. So okay, we have to implement this now. So we need another HTTP request when we click this. So to do that, let's go to the button responsible. So button name at here. And then, does this do anything? It doesn't, okay. So in the button, let's create a new property called onClick. And then we create a function here. And then inside of the function, we do our HTTP requests. So in our backend, we also make a HTTP route for inserting data. So it's the same URL. It's still the URL, then /cal, and then the calendar name. But what's different is the HTTP verb. So what is an HTTP verb? So let's take a look at this website here. So HTTP verb, it describes the operation that you want to do with the corresponding URL. So we have this URL, right? When we open this URL into the browser, the verb that is being used here is called get. So when you open anything in your browser, it's called a get method, a get verb. So get basically describes you want to get the data from this URL. If you want to insert data to the URL, we can set it, we can change the verb into post or put. It depends on what you want. But in our case, we use post. So we handle this post, put, get in our backend. So our backend is available in our DSC Binus International organization too. So let me try to go there. So circle backend. So if you guys would like to look at the backend for this, you guys can visit this repository. So yeah. We got our core team members working on it. So yeah. So you can go to the controllers and wait, let's just go to main.go. So we handle it here, everything. So you guys can see here, r.get, r.post. So we handle the get verb here, and then we handle the post verb here. So yeah, to insert data, we need to use post. So how do we change the HTTP request into post? To change that, we first do fetch again, because fetch is the HTTP request. And then we enter the URL again. So the URL is backend URL plus cal. And then we need to get the calendar name somehow. We get the calendar name in calendar JSX right here. So I think I'm just gonna prop drill it. So it's at entry. Okay, at entry, cal name equals ID. Save it, and then in at entry, I'm gonna add ID cal name here, so I can access it from here. And then in fetch, yeah, just do cal name. Okay, so that's the URL. And instead of like then, we do comma in the fetch, and then we create a new JSON object, a new JavaScript object, and then hit enter. And then now this is the fetch options. So you can change the options in fetch in this object here. So if you hit control space, all the things that you can configure in fetch is available here. You can change the headers, the method. So we're gonna change the method here. So I'm going to change the method into post. You guys can see the full documentation for fetch here in this URL. So yeah, this is the options that you can change. So I'm gonna copy this to the chat. You guys can look at it later. So you can change the method. See here, get, post, put, delete, mode, and then cache, and then credentials, then headers, and all that kind of stuff. So the second option that we have to change is we need to change the mode into course. So what does this mean? Course basically defines that I want to access another URL that is different from the current URL in my browser. So in our browser, in our frontend, it is localhost 3000, right? So if you want to access another URL that is different from this, it might get an error. So the error is because it has a browser security feature. It disallows you from accessing other sites. So hackers cannot get your data. So it's a browser security feature, yeah. So to turn that off, we can use mode course. And after that, we set the headers into content type equals application JSON. So we do this because we are sending a JSON object. So because post is we're pushing data, we need to include data here, right? So the data form that we're going to send is in the form of JSON. And the data we pull it and we place it in body. And so we place the data here. It's string format. So what are the data that we need to put in the body here? So that's a good question. I kind of forgot. So let's go to Circle backend. I'm gonna cheat a bit. It's in models, calendar.go. this is the data that we need to push. So let me copy this to my notepad and then put it on my other screen so I can cheat off it. And yeah, okay. Let's now put the data here. So these are the data again. So here I'm going to create an object, and then this object I'm going to cover in JSON.stringify. Why? Because body accepts string, and you can convert a JavaScript object into a JSON string using this function. So JSON stringify. And inside this curly braces, I'm going to insert my values. So first we have the event name. Event name equals to title. Okay, comma. And then nodes equals to node, I believe. Okay. Pass is equal to pass. Color is equal to color. So we have 4 of this covered. And then we just have to handle this. So start and end is the time that when the event will start and when the event will end. So let's type that. Oh, by the way, this can be in random order. It doesn't matter because dictionary or objects or maps, they are unordered. So yeah. So we have the start date. So we have to get the dates from this. So this date, this string date has a very specific structure. So it's ISO 8601. Okay, so the the date has to be structured exactly like this format here. So this is the format. Oh wait, no, this is the format. So we have to structure it like this, but luckily, our library DJS already handles that. So this is how you do it. So we need a plugin first for this library. So because the library is only 3 kilobytes, it doesn't contain all the workings. So we need to extend it. But don't worry, it's easy. Everything is already here. So all you need to do is you go to index.js and you import this. Import this here, and then just do DJS extend DJS custom parse, and that's it. Now DJS can do parsing string. So yeah, I'm just gonna put this aside so we can cheat off this. And then here start, we're gonna create DJS. Oh, I already imported it, cool. DJS. The first parameter, I'm gonna leave it as empty. And then the second parameter, I'm gonna do y strip month, day, oh yeah, day of the month, hour. You know what? It's single day because if you see on the React here, this is only 1 digit. So if I enter double D, this might throw an error. And then your year, month, day, we have also the hour. hour is double digit, and then the minute is like this. Then yeah, I think that should be it. So that's the second parameter. In the first parameter, I'm going to use a JavaScript string literal so we can do it easier. So here I'm just gonna do start date titik year strip start date titik month strip start date titik date spasi start date titik time, because the time is already in the format of this. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna repeat this for n. So start n is like that, and I'm just gonna change this variable into end date. Okay. Okay, that's cool. So I think that should be all she wrote. So let's try to create an event then. So let me refresh just to be safe. Let's add an event on the Friday the 13th. Oh damn, there's Friday the 13th this month. Damn. Okay, so all we need to do is we hit add, we change the dates into this Friday, scary Friday, and then we set the clock into 6 like this, and then add set 9, and then spooky. Ooh. And then the passcode. So again, if you want to insert event, you need to enter the passcode to this. So the passcode is for staffcal is this 530, but it's not supposed to be shown in the JSON data here. This is a mistake by us, so it's gonna be gone. But yeah, the password is 530. So yeah, once I hit add, it should add it to the database, and if we hit refresh, the new thing should appear. Oh yeah, we can set the color too. What do we want? Orange. Okay, sure. And yeah, so if we hit add, it will also make a network request here. So yeah, let's hit it. Okay. Oh wow, it succeeds. And success is true. Okay. And I don't think we made any mistakes. Yeah, this is some other errors. Okay. I think we have edited successfully. So let's hit refresh and see if it's there. Oh, okay. So it's not quite there, but yeah, it's there. I wonder why that didn't work. Wait, where is it? Oh, it's inserted in 12. Wait, did I type 12 or 13, guys? I forgot. Let's try 15 now. Bruh. Test. Okay, add. Okay, I did it. So refresh. Huh. Okay. I guess we need to add one then. So +1. +1. And yeah, that's it. That's it for pushing the data. So we have a fully working calendar here. And yeah, the events will appear in the calendar here. And yeah, that's it. And now all we need to do is let's implement this now. So this is the last part of the lesson. So I'm sorry I'm extending from the time again, but this is the very last one that we have to do. And after we've done this, the GDSC team will upload all of the front end into a website. And so you guys can access the website to play it on your own. You can add new calendars, you can use it normally, and yeah. It's available. It will be available for the public. So yeah, let's try to implement this now. So let's try git add titik, git commit, and add that pushing data to backend. Okay. Last stretch, guys. Let's go. So I think it's in home JSX. Let's close the other ones. Okay. So this is the button here, button create. And so let's just create a new function for onClick here. And yeah, let's just do it here. Oh, yeah, by the way, you might notice that I use function here, but I use an arrow function here. These two are identical, but there is a difference, but it's pretty much identical. I won't explain the details, but what it does, yeah, it creates a new function basically, but the arrow function is not tied to any classes, but I won't get into the details of it. So yeah, let's do the create here. And so to create a new calendar, you hit the same URL. You hit the same URL and you use post to. So we actually need to land this function. Wait, at entry. Okay. Yeah, we kind of need to land this function right here. Yeah. So because we want to land this function, I'm just gonna create a new file here called fetches.js. So I'm just gonna put the function here. I'm going to create a new function. Add calendar. Okay, then fetch here. Then backend URL is exported. So let's just do it here. Cal name. Okay, cal name, title, node, pass, color, start, end. Okay. I'm gonna replace this with start. And I'm gonna replace this with end. Okay, cool. So let's save that. Let's go to add entry. Let's do add calendar. And then cal name, title, node, pass, already correct. The only one that needs some modification is start and end. So I'm gonna change start and end into this. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this so we can put the function on a different file and then we can import it later into somewhere else. So we don't repeat ourselves. Okay, so it's safe. Okay, now in home, now we can use add calendar too. Add calendar. Oh, okay, we need to import it. So add calendar. We need to place it here. We need to fix this. So it's in home. So we go to calendar and then fetches. Okay, that should be it. And so add calendar. Okay, add calendar. We don't need this anymore. Add calendar. Why is the autocomplete not showing? I wonder. Okay, I think my VS Code has some errors, but we need to fill this with the cal name. So the calendar name is already in cal name. If you remember, we generated it here, and so it's in cal name now. And comma the title. Oh yeah, we need to add a new event. A new event here. So we're just gonna cal name, comma calendar created, comma note created, comma pass is the password. Oh yeah, we have to create a new state for that because we haven't created a pass, comma set pass equals use state empty. And then, oh, there we go. Okay. Value is pass and then on change set pass. That's it. So pass is pass. And then color. The color, let's just set it to white. And then after that, the start and end. So the start and end, let's import the JS again. And for the start and end, let's just do the JS. I'm gonna look at the documentation for a bit. The JS to ISO date. Ah, okay. So you just do to ISO string. Yeah, okay. To ISO string, and then for the end, we're gonna do the same. Okay, cool. So that's it. I think that's it. That's all we need now. So, okay, I'm gonna go to the backend and I'm gonna go to JSON cal now. And so JSON cal is initially empty. Now let's create JSON cal through the front end. So I'm gonna create JSON cal, and then the password is gonna be password 123. And then if I hit create, it should create the, oh yeah, I forgot, I need this. So after adding the calendar, oh, you know what? Let's just create it. And then, okay, it works, response, success true. So it has successfully created it. So if we refresh here, we should get some data. And we did. So all we need to do is just go to cal and JSON cal. And so my calendar is here. So there we go, calendar created. So the text is white because I set it to white. So I should have done that. Let's change it to, let's change the color to gray.
Excuse me, Jason, can you play music again?
Oh yeah, okay. Udah mau selesai juga sih, Phil. Oke. Halal. Yeah, but yeah, that's it. We have created our calendar, and if we want to add, we can just do bruh and then set it to tomorrow. Testy, and then password 1 to 3. And then if we had we refresh. Oh, it's not there. Hold on. Oh. Okay, why doesn't it appear? Oh, because I added it for the 7th month. Okay. Okay, that's a mistake, but yeah, I mean, that's it. Yeah, I think we can just change this then. 12, test again. Password 1 to 3 at where is it gonna appear now? Okay. So if I refresh, bam. Okay. That's it, guys. I think everything's finished now.
Oh, there's nothing better than running your code and having it work properly. Oh my God. Thank you, Jason, for the super informative session today. It was very interesting to learn all about how front end reacts with server and back end using HTTP requests. I particularly enjoyed seeing the difference between the request get and post in actual application. Uh, what about you, Phil?
I don't know. It's just inspiring, honestly, just to watch. Just this. I don't know. It's really cool to see, because this is kind of like the core team's baby, you know. Like we all worked on it, so we're all very like passionate about this kind of stuff. So, you know, actually seeing it, you know, actually seeing the final product and actually working is honestly kind of a euphoric experience. It just feels kind of, yeah, it just feels nice. Just looking at everything work basically.
Epic. If I know Jason is open to any questions, so if you have any questions about the code or about front end development in general, please feel free to put it in the chat box and we'll read it out to Jason. Okay, we have our first question. This will be uploaded to the YouTube, right? Yes, of course. All our sessions, the first until the third, will be uploaded to our YouTube channel at BSC Binus International, along with the code inside our GitHub repo, which will be linked in the chat. Also, the project will be available on our website soon, so stay tuned for that.
And for those of you guys who are watching the YouTube video, hey guys, don't forget to like and subscribe right now. You get like and subscribe, guys. Is there any more questions? Maybe regarding, wait, Jason, you get a new haircut?
Huh? Really?
Did you? You have a different hairdo last time I saw you.
Oh. I didn't take any.
Oh, here we have another question. Will there be a back-end workshop? What do you think, Jason?
If enough people are interested, sure.
The question would be, will it be about ShareCal also, or will we like, would
Oh,
you make
yeah.
a whole new thing?
I think it's gonna be some other
Okay,
thing.
Any more questions?
I have a question. Is there any way to add a new event to the calendar without having to refresh it.
Yeah, there is. So in fetch, so you can do then. So then, and then you capture the response. And so this function will run after the what the data has been inserted into the database. So in this function, we can call set calendar here. So from calendar.js, so we can pass set calendar into calendar component, and then we pass it into calendar entry. And so we can like set the calendar and then append a new data to that. But I think it's too we don't have time for that now, so that's why I just resorted to refreshing it. But normally, yeah, we would want to set calendar and not refresh it for the user experience.
Oh, okay. It's good to know that it's possible.
So yeah, I mean, yeah, you can figure it on your own if you want, because the backend is fully public, so you can access it from this link here. So yeah.
I think that's about it for Q&A. I think we can like wrap things up if you want. Thank you everybody for coming. Don't forget to fill in the attendance form. And yeah, thank you for coming.
Attendance form.
Yeah.
The link.